If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. I'm your host, the Innkeeper, and this is our live call-in talk show all about the Wheel of Time. Now, tonight's episode is all about screenwriting. We're going to do something a little special, different. We're actually going to do a table read here just shortly, but I want to remind everybody what we have coming up next. This Sunday, we're actually back with the crew from Theoryland, Todd, Mary, Natalia, and our special guest, Steve Cawthon, Thailand's Toe, I love that. We'll be back with us to do a live adaptation of The Wheel of Time. Yeah, we're doing a live adaptation, cutting and keeping certain scenes from the book. It's a lot of fun. We'll be in part 2 of The Dragon Reborn. I can't wait for that episode. And then the following Wednesday, we're going to break down the Aiel and the future of the Fourth Age. Do they have one? And is there a future to this world? And if there is, what is that? And we're going to speculate all about that with Colin from Randland TV and also Seth from Watt Spoilers. I know a lot of people have asked us to bring Seth on, and I'm excited to have Seth here with us and Colin and just dive deep into this topic. You know, it's going to be speculation, which I love. And then I want to remind everyone, tomorrow we have an episode of Barside Chats dropping, a little special exclusive for those of you that have heard of Taylor. I don't know if you know what this Taylor guy is, but he runs production for the Dusty Wheel. My son will be with us on Barside Chats talking all about Winter Dragon, the Dusty Wheel cut. And also, you know, maybe his high school career in production. So it's an awesome episode. We had so much fun recording it. You'll be there with us. Just download it tomorrow. Just follow us on Barside Chats on Twitter. You'll know when that actually hits. Okay, that's it. We had a lot of news out from Weldon Prime today. And before we get into it, let me introduce my guest today. Welcome my table read crew here. Welcome, everybody. The double hand. I still love the double hand.
It's double hands. Always double hands. It's all about
the double hands. The double hand thing has to come in. We have Kristy Lussier. Kristy, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for putting your time into this. For those of you that are curious, and while you listen to us talk all about the news, you can see the mock screenplay adaptation she did. It's actually, there's a link to it in the description of the video. If you want to go download what we're going to be reading during the table read, you can do that now. Kristy, thank you again. Like I said, the time you put into this is remarkable that you would do this just so we can have a deep dive into what screenwriting is. And welcome, Brother Dan from the Way of the Leaf YouTube channel. It's so awesome to have you here.
Oh, the feeling is doubly mutual, Matt. Thank you for having me. This is great.
It's most excellent. And Alan, those of you who have met Alan before with the Wheel Reads podcast, Alan, it's awesome to have you back here. I can't wait to get into this table read with all of you.
Yeah, and thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. Rebecca, it's been a while.
Yeah,
leaving the pattern.
I'm so excited to be back.
All of these are podcasts and YouTube channels. You can go check them out. I didn't have time to throw them into the description, but I will after the show, and you can check all the channels. Hopefully you've already heard of all of these people. If you haven't, you'll get to know them really well during our table read. And then last but not least, Malkier Talks. Welcome to the show, Malkier. Or
hey,
Rob.
how's it going?
Rob, Malkier. Rob actually does podcasts, YouTube. He's all over the place. You just go check him out after the show also. Okay, so let's get into this. The news. Watt on Prime dropped something interesting. But before I show everyone that, Kai Alexander, she is in Prague. This was an interesting thing that came up today. She posted some images on Instagram, and we now know that she is in Prague. And so I wanted to ask all of you, basically, what does this tell you? And maybe I'll start with you, Rebecca. What's your speculation? What's your theory? She's part of the crew that's out there for episodes 7 and 8.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So for a long time, I've been thinking, she's not going to be introduced in Barrelon. I was thinking Caemlyn, she'll be at the Queen's Blessing. But now I actually am wondering if they're going to have her be in Faldara and she'll be a Borderlander, a Shinaran, instead of an Andoran. And the reason I'm thinking why they might want to delay her is just having her viewings come in too soon might be too much to spoil, like at the beginning of the season. It gives away a lot. But
we don't have any proof that we know of that she was out in Prague before this. We only know this is the moment that she's in Prague. So we're kind of assuming 7 and 8 is where we're introduced to her. That does not mean that that is the case. She could have been out in Prague and just been really circumspect about posting something. So
there's other possibilities that I could get into, but that's my favorite thought at the moment.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. The opposite side of this, does anyone here among us think that this is kind of a feint that like she's actually at the White Tower, she's somewhere else, but unrelated to Faldara?
I mean, White Tower makes sense to me. If we're going back to the whole thing where we're getting to the Great Hunt, and rather than having her introduced in Barrelon, we have her introduced in the scene. We just did the chapter in our podcast, so it was old friends and new enemies, or vice versa. That chapter is where Egwene sees men again with Elaine. So. Could be. Yeah.
I was gonna say the White Tower is one of those other locations people have called out. We do have a lot of information about this. For those that are watching, we're actually going to do a huge breakdown of season 1 and season 2. When I say season 2, is speculation. Kind of discuss what we think is going to drop in season 2 on the 20th. That's an episode we haven't announced yet. We'll announce our guest here this upcoming Sunday. But yeah, we're going to do a detailed breakdown, and this is absolutely going to be part of it. Kai, I want to say that this is something I brought up on Discord, I think just yesterday. I asked if we had any images from Kai. So maybe she saw that fans were really interested and just decided, everyone else is posting it because we have, Rosamund and Marcus and Yosha and everyone else has been posting that they're there. So it's awesome to know that she's part of this and what that portends to. Yeah, well, I guess we'll dig into that later. But the big news that splashed today after that was during the Amazon Prime Wheel of Time book club, which actually ended today. And as kind of like an end to the book club, they left us a little gift, a parting gift. I'm sure all of you that are watching this have seen this already because I think it was already seen, 30, 40,000 times on Twitter so far today. But if you haven't, or even if you have, I think it's still worth watching. They gave us a little 11-second clip. I don't know if you'd call this a teaser trailer. I don't know what you'd call this, but a little 11-second clip. Let's watch that on the screen here. Yeah, that's right. The camera pans back and you see the Winespring Inn. Yeah, this was such an interesting thing to drop for us, right? It's so interesting. We got 11 seconds. We see a page of a book, and then we see a blurry version of the Winespring Inn what did you guys think about this? Kristy, what was your first thought when you saw this video?
Well, I thought it was beautiful because it was amazing.
Yeah.
No, it's just excitement. Like, we're actually seeing things in person that we've been waiting to see on screen for so long. So I was like, oh, there it is. That was my reaction. There it is.
Yeah, there it is, right? I think everyone was just like, oh my gosh, this feels like another beginning, right? I mean, we've gotten casting announcements, we've gotten so many things, but just seeing this feels feels more palpable. Now, I want to throw this up on the screen. Our viewers can see this. We have the blurry image of the Winespring Inn, but this image was put out and leaked onto the internet months and months ago about this same location for Edmonds Field. And so we're showing you kind of a better view, or a more higher resolution view of it, so you can kind of get a feel for what it does look like. But yeah, I thought this was interesting. I saw Narg actually posted this one again today. But yeah, it's really cool to finally be in Edmonds Field. We had a kind of a production view of this from Rafe a while back. And maybe I'll ask you this, Malkir, what was your reaction when you watched it?
I just thought it was so beautiful. And I saw some discussion about, there's no thatch on that second little house to the side, but I think that's the stables. But it just looked so serene. I was like, I want to sit there with a cup of tea and just look at everything. It was amazing.
Yeah, I love all the fans who immediately, after they got over their first reaction, started breaking the clip down. They're like, okay, I'm seeing smoke over here. I'm seeing some ravens. I'm seeing,
Oh, yeah.
Right. We're all scientists now. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Get the magnifying glass out.
Right.
Yeah, so this doesn't give us any clue when we'll actually get a trailer, but this was a nice way to end without getting a casting announcement. I think everyone appreciated it. I saw this all over social media. It was a lot of fun. So thank you very much to Amazon, or Wadam Prime, I should say, for putting this out for us. The fans, they love you, and they will continue loving you if you continue giving them things like this. But if you don't, they will start to complain. That's just how social media works. It's like always like, I got this. Okay, give me something more.
We need our stuff.
Yeah. Little Wheel of Time addicts, all of you.
Well, and Matt, actually, if I can say, my brother actually texted me and was like, I had tears in my eyes. We've waited 30 years to see this.
I know.
And he had an emotional reaction to it. And I think probably a lot of people did. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to toss us this little cookie. And we are so glad that they did, because we're just, no. We're just on Cookie Monsters now.
Well, the Dune trailer dropped today, and I think a lot of fans were like, why don't we get something? It's like, at least I was feeling that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm just telling you what I was thinking. It was like, oh man, a Dune trailer. What do we get? And I definitely saw a lot of Wheel Time fans be like, this 11-second clip totally outweighed anything Dune could show us. Because like you said, we've been waiting a long time for this. What was fun is that Rafe actually got into the mix of this. I want to read some of these. Yeah. He tweeted afterwards. Let's throw this screen up, Taylor. He actually he tweeted, to celebrate Wadam Prime's first glimpse of the Winespring, I'll answer the first 3 questions I get about it on here. Go. And one of the questions was, does it smell like honey cakes and fresh bread? Rafe said, it mostly smells like ginger tea, which anyone who spent time on a Watt set would tell you, ha. But there were honey cakes that the wasps and hornets couldn't get enough of, so we had to spray them with a wasp repellent. But they didn't tell me, and I ate one. So that was a nice little story. A second question was, do we see the Beltane celebration? Rafe replied, this one might be a spoiler, especially for Winter Night enthusiasts, but yes. And the third question that he decided to answer was, what were your thoughts walking through it the first time? He wrote, absolutely one of the most emotional moments in the show for me so far. Just standing in the center of Edmonds Field felt totally surreal. Looking up at the red roof of the inn, the trouble they'd gone to give each house and villager a profession and a life there. It was amazing. Yeah, and this goes to what you said, Brother Dan. Just the emotional reaction to this. A lot of fans. I had kind of more the addict reaction. It's just like, yes, now more. But yeah, there was a lot of just emotional reactions to seeing this little snippet, because they have a lot more. They know they have a lot more coming. So yeah, it was a nice little taste. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Alan, before we jump into the whole purpose of tonight?
Final thoughts. So yeah, of the 30,000 views, I think 20,000 are me. But other than that, yeah. So of Rafe's comments, the one thing that I think that stood out was the Beltane question, and because he referenced Winter Nights, that kind of made me speculate right away that maybe the attack comes the next day during Beltane, which would be interesting. I would not be opposed to that. It'd be fun. First,
yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that a lot of people were excited for him just to confirm that, right? Fans are so big on don't change anything. So it's like, okay, Winter Night and Beltane, and we have the Winespring Inn. Okay, I'm okay now.
Sure.
Red tile roof, check.
Yeah, exactly, right? Okay, so that is the news out there that I wanted to kind of cover before we jumped in tonight. Tonight's, as you can tell, hopefully those who are watching, is something special. It's not because all these guests are here. It's because they're here for a table read. The first Dusty Wheel table read brought to us by Kristy Lussier, our friend, writer, filmmaker, and fellow Watt geek. So, Kristy, I want to turn it over to you and kind of, I want to remind everyone that's maybe just started watching us, you can go find the script in the description. You'll find a link to it. It is a mock screenplay adaptation. Remember, this has nothing to do with Watt on Prime. This was Kristy's take on some scenes from Caemlyn. So if you want to download it and watch it while we're doing this and kind of read through as we're going, please do. Hopefully that'll be really engaging for you. You can kind of see every single thing that she's written. And as we talk about the screenplay after the table read that we do, I think that'll really help you. Now, yeah, Kristy, you want to give us kind of just an explanation of what they're going to find when they download that document and what the 5 of us or 6 of us are about to do.
So yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This was a lot of fun. I mean, you know, as a writer for, I can't even begin to tell you how many years, writers dream of doing things like this. And so it was, and I'm such a huge Wheel of Time fan that it was just so fun to be able to kind of take that brain and go, how would I adapt this and what would that look like? And so what we are about to do right now is what's called a table read. And for the actors that have volunteered to be kind of a part of the guillotine here or whatever, they are doing a cold table read. So even though they've just gotten a copy of the script, we've never actually read through it. This will kind of be what sometimes happens in the industry when we're dealing with episodic television is they're kind of writing scripts as they go. Some series has all the scripts ready to go and the actors are either given all of them ahead of time or they are given them as we get closer to shooting that specific episode. Or they're being written on a weekly basis. And so they will have table reads with the actors so that the writers and the producers can hear things out loud. The actors can kind of get a feel for what's coming next. Questions can be asked. They can make some changes if needed. But it ends up being a lot of fun, you know, once a series has kind of been going for a while and the actors have a feel for their characters. Table reads go a lot faster. But because you guys already know these characters, this should probably go faster than you think. Don't be too scared. It'll be fun.
Scared? There's no nerves here. No one's nervous.
We should emphasize this is a cold read.
It's a cold read, yeah.
Ice cold.
It's even
super
cold for me. I mean, I will be honest, I pretty much just finished it maybe about an hour or two ago. But what happens is I go back and I fix things as I'm writing and I fix, and then I'm like, but I've got to get to the end and go back and clean. And then I just start fixing and changing again. And that's just, some writers have a process and that's kind of my process. But I've gone through it and swept through it, and I'm pretty excited to hear it out loud because I've read it, but I'm excited to kind of hear how it comes out loud with people who are fans and bring voices to the characters.
Oh shoot! Yeah, now I'm so nervous. My voice comes up
great.
first.
Trust me, I didn't make it that difficult, and I chose to go with a scene that I think a lot of fans really love. They're probably like chomping at the bit to see this on screen. I know a lot of fans really feel like this is one of their favorite moments in Eye of the World. So I'm glad that you guys voted on it because I got to write a little bit about it, which was awesome. So
yeah, no, this is awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Don't count on much from my acting skills here, even just reading these things, these lines. But I do want to remind everyone they're watching on Twitter and Facebook. You've gotten a little sneak peek into our episode today. If you want to watch the rest of this, you want to see us do the table read, talk about why Kristy made certain decisions from a screenwriting perspective, and get a peek into the mind of the writers and the showrunner themselves, and try to understand what decisions they are making and potentially why they made those decisions. Come on over to YouTube, watch the rest of the show over there. You can just look us up on the Dusty Wheel. But yeah, thank you for being with us on Twitter and Facebook. And like I said, come check us out and chat, give us your opinions, and we look forward to seeing you over here on YouTube. Now, that being said, like this video so other fans out there can come watch this table read with us. And if you're new and you enjoy this weekly content, feel free to subscribe. We'd love to have you here at the Dusty Wheel. So, yeah, Kristy, why don't you take us away how this begins, and I guess we'll just get started. Let's do it.
Okay, so I will be doing what's called reading the action scenes and the action lines. So I'll be introducing each sequence. I'll be kind of talking about the action that we'll be seeing on screen. And then the wonderful actors will be bringing to life the characters by reading their dialogue. So I will start off kind of starting us off with the top part, and we'll go from there.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, are we ready?
Ready.
Sure.
Okay, everyone.
As ready as we can be.
All right, so this is the Wheel of Time Mock Screenwriting Adaptation exercise, and it is called The Web Titans. All right. Exterior, Queen's Blessing Alley, Caemlyn, day. Rand peeks his head out the back door of the inn. His eyes look side to side. The coast is clear. Rand lowers his chin and hides his face as he pulls his dark cloak tighter. He makes his way towards the exit of the alley. Another quick look behind him. No one's following me, right? Rand turns forward again.
Watch your back today. Watch your back today, ma'am.
The sound of Lamgun's voice startles Rand. The lanky, sleepy-eyed guardsman leans on his spear. Though his words were directed at Rand, his eyes keep watch on the bustling in the street. He cares obviously more about the ladies in the crowd than he does about his current guard post.
What makes you say that?
Better to stay here if there's trouble than be out there with a knife in your back.
Rand grazes the hilt of his sword with his fingers. Then he pushes it back further underneath his cloak. With a nod, Rand presses forward as he joins the flow of the crowd. Cut to exterior, Caemlyn city streets, seconds later. His pace quickens. He tries to keep a low profile, still aware of his surroundings. Caemlyn streets jostle with people, merchants and villagers from all around Andor. The crowd beams with a sense of excitement.
I wonder what he will look like.
The false dragon here, light help us all. Rand moves along, a sense of anxiety takes over him. The false dragon, here in Caemlyn. Rand darts his eyes around, observes the masses of people now close beside him. His thoughts run back to Master Gil from moments ago. There's someone who's been asking for you in the city. Half mad, I hear. Rand pushes through the shoulders of those gathering within the city. A dark friend? Is a dark friend looking for me? For Matt? His thoughts are interrupted when he lifts his head to see the Palace of Andor, surrounded with more Queen's guards than imaginable. Truly a wondrous fortress to behold. The streets of the inner city all weave straight towards it. Today, above all, was the day to be near it. Crowds align the streets in a pattern and make way for the procession. The arrival of the false dragon seems to create an energy of those anxiously standing about. All of them wait for their chance to see him, even if just for a brief moment. Rand finds a decent enough spot, just along the path that the procession will take. Curiosity fills the air. The false dragon, Logain. Am I really going to see him in person? Rand's brief moment of thought stops. A tingling sense makes him shiver, ever so slightly, almost as if a cold breeze has struck him, right at him. Something's not right. Rand lifts his head, his eyes scan around the crowd and across from him. Then he sees him, the beggar. We know him as Padden Fane. The ragged, frail creature stares dark eyes at him. Rand sucks in his breath as if it's been pulled right out of him by force. The beggar raises his dirty claw of a hand, fingers gaunt and crooked. The crowd seems to now notice this exchange. The beggar takes one step out onto the empty path and lets out a screech of terror.
Dark friend!
Onlookers gape at Rand. A swell of panic arises, and suddenly, without thinking, Rand runs. He darts between people, pushes some of them off their feet. He knocks over baskets of food and carts of produce.
Sorry.
Rand's feet carry him so fast he has no moment to think. Where do I go? Several white-cloaked men in the streets raise an interested eye. Shouts follow him, but Rand can only hear that raspy word in his mind. Dark friend. Minutes pass. Rand slows down. He continues to turn and look behind him. The coast is clear, again. Rand paces in frustration and resentment.
I am not missing a chance to see the false dragon. I am not.
Rand slumps against a wall, catches his breath. In the distance, the crowd goes louder. A low rumble sound resonates in Rand's ears. He closes his eyes as if to make the noise stop.
Dark friend. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Loud pounding in Rand's head. Dark friend. The voice runs over and over in his head. Dark friend.
Stop!
Silence. The voice stops. Rand relaxes for a moment. The only noise now heard are from the horns in the street. The procession has started. I have to see him. Rand throws his head back, but it hits the wall.
Ouch!
He leaps up, rubs the back of his hair. As he surveys the wall, he realizes, I can climb this. It's a perfect view from the top. The trumpets grow louder. Rand quickly scales the wall with ease. From atop, it's a narrow platform he squats on, balances on his feet. His eyes scan the area. A large tree partially blocks his view, but he crawls around the branches. He has barely enough space to sit flat, legs tucked tightly underneath him. See? Perfect view. Rand leans slightly out. Now he can see the palace gates. Clearly they can be seen. The procession rounds the corner. Various cheers from the crowds as the mounted soldiers trot by. Banners of Caemlyn, white lions on red fabric, fly and flutter in the wind. Foot soldiers file in line as they lead. A large flat wagon with a massive cage of iron bars is in the center of the flatbed, and 6 Aes Sedai encircle the cage from every angle, each focused on one thing. Logain. Rand is taken aback. There he is, Logain, the false dragon, chained and locked in the cage. He appeared larger than life, proud, fearless. Logain takes great care to look around at the many people in the crowd who boo at him, shout his name, curse his presence. But his eyes never fall. His eyes meet them all, and soon the crowd quiets, more silence. He's managed to tame the masses, fill them with fear. But his eyes make one more gaze, one more search, and Logain finds who he's looking for. Rand. Rand shivers once more. Again, the tingling sensation runs in his veins, up his arms, down his spine. Rand meets Logain's stare, but Rand can't look away. He's locked in. The low rumble starts again. Dark friend. The pounding resumes in his head. Dark friend. Rand's heartbeat races. His hands, they begin to burn. Dragon. The last word shocks Rand to jolt. He breaks his gaze with Logain. Dragon. Rand looks up. The wagon turns into the palace gates. Logain is gone.
6 Aes Sedai.
They're keeping him from touching the true source, silly.
This time, the sudden voice causes Rand to shift so fast, he loses his balance, falls over backwards, over the wall, just in time to look up and see beautiful red swirls of hair. Smash to black. Exterior, palace grounds, Queen's Garden, minutes later. Muffled sounds, voices, envelop Rand. He slowly blinks his eyes. Light floods his pupils. He squeezes his lids shut. Each time he blinks, muffled voices get louder, closer. It's all a blur. Rand can only hear the voice of a young girl and a young boy. They argue about him.
Now we'll never hear the end of this, Elaine.
Oh, shut up, Gawain. Ugh.
Rand blinks his eyes open again. The red swirls of hair rush at his face. He's still dazed. His head falls back into someone's hands.
Mother told us to stay in our rooms.
You did not quiet that mouth of yours.
But no, you just had to get a look at Logain.
Rand's eyes flutter once more. He can barely make out shapes of the people now. Gawain Trekken, late teens, short, reddish hair, drops his feet down to the ground from the tree. His sister Elaine, late teens, long reddish curls, silver jewelry around her neck, examines Rand's head and his face. His view is clear now. She's a radiant image of what royalty would look like. That's a fancy dress. She's very pretty.
What happened?
Are you all right?
I'm fine, I think.
Rand tries to sit upright. Dizziness takes over. He slumps down again.
You are hurt. You must have hit your head falling down.
Elaine tends to his wounds on the back of his head. Rand winces and pulls away for a moment.
No, that's okay. I don't want you to get blood on your hands.
Elaine ignores him, swats him, and grabs his head again. Rand winces once more.
Hold still. It's not that bad. Gawain, give me your water flask. I need to rinse it.
Gowan sits down next to them and hands her the water flask.
Don't worry, lad. She knows what she's doing, even though she shouldn't be doing what she's doing.
Don't listen to him. He's always mad that I've turned out to be smarter than he is.
I'm smart enough to know we shouldn't have climbed that tree. Though I must say this fellow here was pretty skillful getting up that wall.
Not so skillful, falling back down.
Elaine removes a scarf from her belt and wraps it around Rand's head.
Don't use that, it'll be ruined.
I told you to hold still.
Oh, is she always this bossy?
Tell me about it.
Are you two done?
Most of the time, everyone does what she says. Most of the time. Except Mother or Elena. And Gareth. Gareth, certainly not Gareth.
Gareth will only listen to Mother, though she never gives him a command.
Why does that surprise you?
She should just marry him and be done with it. It would solve so many problems.
And what do you suggest? Does she just command him to do it?
He would obey. He would be daft not to.
They suddenly stop and look at Rand. He stares back at them. Am I supposed to know these people they're talking about?
Who is your mother?
Gawain smiles, drops his head to hide a laugh. Elaine's eyes widen with shock. But Gawain breaks the news.
More gays? By the grace of the light, Queen of Andor, defender of the realm, protector of the people, high seat of the house Trakan.
Rand freezes in fear. His eyes look from Gawain to Elaine, back to Gawain, back to Elaine.
Are you muted? Did we lose your sound, Malker?
The Queen?
There you
They both nod in agreement. Suddenly, Rand springs up, almost falls over. He shuffles his way to the wall. He tries to climb, but like a mouse in a trap, he can't get up the wall. Gawain and Elaine watch his panic for a moment, and they share a laugh.
Don't think you'll get up the wall that easy this time. No grip.
Will you stop? You're going to start bleeding again.
I have to go now. I'll just climb back over.
Rand struggles, no footing, no way out.
If you'll pardon me, my lady. Yes, my lady. I'll leave now and...
Elaine and Gawain stand up slowly. They approach Rand, who claws at the wall like a caged animal.
You really didn't know. You climbed that wall just to see Logain, yet you didn't know where you were?
The crowds. Too crowded. I just wanted a better view.
So you're just going to leave without telling us your name?
Rand ignores him. He paces down the wall as if he's looking for a path up.
Have you told me yours?
Well, that's more like it. Gawain Trakan, Lord, or whatever you like, that and is my sister, Elaine Trakan.
Gawain points at Elaine. She rolls her eyes back. Sorry. And then Elaine makes a noise in her throat.
I'm sorry. I mean, the daughter heir of whatever you like.
Lord, daughter, heir. I mean, Lady Elaine heir. I mean, Lord and Lady of the Queen's heir.
Keep trying. You'll get there.
Young sir, please. We just want to help.
Rand spins to them, eyes wide, anxiety written.
I am Randall Forth, Remembrance Field, from the Two Rivers, and I thank you for your kindness, but...
Oh, tobacco and wool. Yeah, yes, I know all about the principal products of the land. Part of my training. It's said Two Rivers people are stubborn. Elaine ought to choose a husband from there. It'll take a man with that kind of will to keep her in line.
Elaine slaps Gawain's arm. Gawain laughs.
Okay, well, good day to you both.
Rand spins back around to escape, but stops. He comes face to face with the point of a sword. Rand's eyes bulge with fear.
And who's this?
Tall, slender, teems with confidence. Galad, early 20s, dark hair and dark eyes, directs the weapon right at Rand. Galad looks over at Elaine and Gawain, then back to Rand.
Stand away from this intruder, Elaine. You too, go on.
He is a loyal subject of our mother, Galad, and he is under my protection.
I'm aware of your fondness for stray animals, Elaine.
How dare you?
This man is armed and hardly looks reputable. If he's a loyal Queen's man, what is he doing here? Trespassing? Where he does not belong?
He is here as my guest. I vouch for him. Have you appointed yourself my nurse, guardian, to decide whom I talk to and when?
If only someone could control your wild actions. But this guest, Elaine, it's not proper, and you know it.
Hey, Galad, just drop it. You know you will not win this one.
Glad drops his arms, his eyes still locked onto Rand.
You may not win. Someone will.
Glad
Or may
turns,
not
and
win.
paces, Glad turns and paces away on a mission.
Great. There you go, Elaine. Now he's out to find the guards or Talonvor. I'd place any bet on it.
We must get you out of here now.
I'd like to go back over the wall.
Not after I've fixed your scrapes and bruises.
Elaine takes Rand by the wrist and leads him further back into the gardens.
There's a small gate on the other side of the garden. It's overgrown. No one knows about it except me.
Gawain rushes up beside them.
And now me.
Shut your face, Gawain. This is your fault.
How is this my fault? I'm not the one who made Galad go running like a little crybaby.
You're both crybabies.
The three reach the edge of the gardens near a smaller wall with ivy and overgrown greenery strewn about. Elaine stops, pulls back some rose bushes, and smiles.
Still there. Thank the light.
Well, Randall Thor of Edmonds Field, of the Two Rivers, it was nice to make your acquaintance. Maybe someday I will travel that far west to the Two Rivers for some of that tobacco.
Rand, for the first time since falling over the wall, smiles.
Oh, yes, good. Sir Trek, Lord Trek.
Gawain. Just Gawain.
Rand turns to Elaine. The sense of urgency rises.
Goodbye, Randall Thor. I hope we meet again.
What about your scarf?
Rand touches the wrap around his head. Elaine grazes it with her fingers. One finger gently strokes his cheek.
I know where to find you.
Rand, lost in the moment, blushes. Her warm smile, bright blue eyes, and red curls almost too much for him. Just as he's about to open his mouth and speak, a loud bellow rings through the air. Halt! Elaine and Gawain jump up in surprise as the three turn to see. Rows of red uniformed men, swords drawn, bows raised, and ready at the aim. Galad stands in the front line with Talonvor. Everyone stares at Rand. No escape. Not today.
Some crybaby, huh?
Smash to black. End of sequence. Scene.
Nice job. Nice job.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Love it.
Yeah, I love it. Sorry for my interlude there of Dark Friend. I wasn't sure how that
That's
was.
okay. I totally forgot that. I was like, I'll read it.
Well done. Yeah, Kristy, thanks for writing that up. It was interesting to watch some of the comments go through in chat. Basically, they would love Gawain as a puppet, and they want to see more of Gawain as a puppet. No, but I
Here's
think
my headshot, and I hope I get it. I hope I get a call back. Thank you very much.
Yeah, like a Hopper or just said in chat, but I want to see the Queen now.
I didn't say that.
And Eduardo just asked, is this going to be a regular thing? Or, I mean, I think this will a lot depend on just how much time Kristy has and to do this kind of thing. And basically how much people like this, this idea of kind of just talking through scenes and then actually kind of writing up a screenplay for it and talk about why you made certain decisions that you did make. So maybe let's start there. And before I ask you, Kristy, did anyone here, as part of the table read, recognize things that Kristy changed or kind of modified for how it happened in the book? Or was there a certain thing that you saw that you noted and you're like, oh, that actually helped the scene? Or were you just too embedded in your characters to take note?
I was worried about missing lines.
Yeah.
And then I did anyway.
Me too.
I'm not sure if I read it correctly, but it seemed to guide to be kind of this snarky, little sarcastic guy. So that's how I tried to read it, and I noticed that was a cool little take on Gawain, is him being playfully fun. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that was great. I was happy with that role.
I saw some people comment that they
I
liked
went
this
that way.
version of him. Sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead,
I went that way. I know that he's not a fan favorite, particularly as the series goes on, but I felt like we're going to have a lot of kind of seriousness anyway, and I feel like he has enough right in the beginning, just with his kind of naivety and not knowing anything, even though he feels like he knows everything. He can be some comic relief, and there's an opportunity there to kind of really bring him to the forefront with some more comedic lightheartedness, and this scene was perfect for it. I felt like showing them fighting his brother and sister is great, and then Galad shows up and she's like, get out of here because you're dumb anyway, and then he leaves. Like, it's just perfect.
Yeah, I like that. As far as, you know, somebody when it comes to actually doing what you just did with these scenes, Kristy, can you walk us through kind of what were some of the first questions you asked yourself, like, and how you came to those decisions when it comes to either, you know, the characterizations you did or the scenes you did leave in there, or how you spoke about those scenes? Can you just walk us through what those questions are, and we can kind of dig into, you know, what our reactions are to that kind of recipe?
Well, I mean, and some people have kind of already pointed it out. So they noticed that there's a few elements that I left out with when Rand is walking through and he notices everybody in terms of the color of the wrappings on their swords and the armbands that they have, or the colors signifying like where they stand politically. I didn't necessarily go into that with doing this sequence per se. And the reason that I didn't is because I feel like if I were doing that, I would actually probably introduce that element earlier in the setup. Like when they first come into Caemlyn, or when they first get to Queen's Blessing, or Master Gil first kind of talks to them about anything. I would kind of give that setup first, because I don't necessarily feel like Rand would feel comfortable enough going out if he doesn't necessarily know what he's walking into. Like, he leaves because Matt's just driving him crazy, to me. And he's like, I got to get away from Matt, he's stressing me out. So he kind of already knows what he's walking into. He knows Logain is there. He knows it's going to be like a lot of people out in the street. The thing that hasn't freaked out is that when he's walking out the door is when Master Gil says, hey, somebody's asking for you. That's what sets him on edge. Other than that, he was ready to go out and have a great time. So I feel like that would be something that you should probably talk about or introduce earlier. And then that way you have a lot more room to show that he's going out. There's this big moment where they're getting ready to see Logain. But for Rand, he's on edge because he feels like people are watching him, and he doesn't have time to think about anything else, like the political aspects of what's going on.
Yeah, and you know, Sarah pointed this out in chat. There is this sequence of scenes is very focused on Rand at the beginning, and so you definitely do still get kind of that thread from the books of it really being around Rand. But I like how you thought through of like, what am I actually wanting to include here, and what would have been done beforehand, and what would be done after, and how can I spread those things out so it's not this, like you said, so it's a really believable scene of course this kid would get to a city and he'd go out because of this reasoning, and this is what makes sense to the audience, like you said, versus somebody that would be like, no, I'm gonna stay in the inn even though Matt's bugging me because it's too crazy out there. So I like that. There was the piece I wanted to ask you about Logain here. When you got to Logain, what were your thoughts about how you decided to adapt him from the book scenes into this, and why did you make some of those decisions?
So I feel like when you're a screenwriter, it makes it a little more challenging to, there's kind of a trick in screenwriting called show, not tell. And so it's tough to not just write like what you want it to look like. But I wanted to give a sense that it's obviously a very pivotal moment for Rand to catch his eye, but this is very significant. There are 6 Aes Sedai sitting on this wagon. There's this false dragon that everybody's been talking about for so long. I just wanted to convey that even when they see him, they feel like they can take him on until he looks at them, and then they know they can't. And even Rand is caught in that gaze where as soon as he catches Logain's gaze, and Logain has no problem staring him down, but everything starts feeding in Rand's brain. His heart rate goes up, the sounds start in his head. He starts hearing this scary, dark friendly kind of thing again. And then I actually changed it to dragon on that last one because I wanted to make that tie that there's a significance on why this moment means so much. And so for him to hear dragon jolts him. He doesn't understand, even though he's kind of, you know, scared on his own element. So I didn't want to go too much into Logain. I feel like it's just a really cool, I think visually that would just look amazing. And I feel like they do it beautifully anyway. So there's not really much you can do on screen other than kind of how I wrote it, and just make sure that that moment is very emphasized with the portrayal of how the actors do it.
Yeah, no, I liked that aspect of it. And this question of I can't remember in the script now. They were talking about the Logain's laugh in chat, and did the script? I can't remember if you decided to include that or not in the script there. And was that just was there something purposeful about that itself, or was it kind of this decision of, this is how you wanted him to be seen by the crowd? Because I'm trying to remember from the books, and I didn't go back and read that scene, but I remember in the screenplay you did was the entire crowd goes silent, and I don't remember. Does the entire crowd go silent in the books?
It does. Yeah, at some moment it does say that they go silent. They go a little more silent once they see that he's not dropping his eyes and that he's kind of taking on everybody by looking at them. I left out the laughing. I left out that element. I didn't want to. I think that when we first see him, for me, I would rather see him as if he almost looks just normal, like not that the madness has already taken over for him, because that's what we associate with the false dragon, or with the dragon in general, is that like there's madness and they're psychotic. And I wanted to leave that element out for this time, for this moment. I wanted to just kind of give this, like, they just fear this guy, and he knows what he knows. And so I don't know, I just chose to leave it out. It was just kind of an instinct for me. I didn't really want to go down that road of showing him being like this Joker type, I'm laughing. I wanted him to be more just stoic and taking everybody on, I guess. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, it's interesting. And again, and it comes down to this question of when the writers are writing it, like you were writing it, right? And you followed an intuition that you had about the character and how to best convey that character to the viewers themselves, not necessarily the readers, right? And I'm seeing a lot of comments in chat where people are talking about, and that's what I think people are gonna have a hard time with is, and that's what I wanted to do this exercise for, which is, how you read it and how you experience it. You're not going to necessarily get every moment you consider an iconic moment from a book,
right?
Because there is a specific way that you as the writer are trying to convey this information, and it's not going to include every single piece of that. So I thought that was interesting. Any questions among the I have lots of questions here, but I don't want to take up all of those. Rebecca, do you have any question for kind of Kristy as you've thought back of what we just did in a table read perspective and how she put this together? Was there anything that stood out to you that you wanted to mention or ask her about?
Well, I was just curious, what your experience was like listening to us read it, and then when you hear it read, does that tell you anything, and does that make you, feel differently at all about what you wrote?
It really doesn't, to be honest with you. I feel like, here's the thing. You guys are mega ultimate fans. So these characters already. So I feel like if it was an actor coming in or somebody who wasn't already kind of associated with the original content and knew these characters, they may just be like, oh, this is kind of a bratty kid, or is this or is that. But I think you guys embrace the elements of the characters because you already know them. You already know this is how whiny Elaine is, and you just know that Rand is like always confused, it seems. Like he never knows what's going on in life. And so you guys already know those things, and you can kind of grasp onto that. It sounded good. It sounded like it sounded good to me. I don't know.
I will challenge you on that just a little bit. I don't think necessarily it was all dictated by our preconceived notions of what the characters are. I think a lot of it was based on your writing. Yeah, I mean, your writing really, really kind of defined how we were supposed to read. I read through it once and I said, okay, this is what Gawain is. And whether that matched with Gawain in the books or not, based on your writing, this is what you portrayed. So we may have this, but your writing it was fun. Good job.
Thank you.
I'm going to remind everybody before I go around and ask for other questions from the table readers, I want to remind everyone this is a live call-in talk show. If you would like to call in and give your opinion about what you just heard, ask for more puppets, or beg Kristy to come back and do another scene because you loved what she just did, whatever it is, or make a case for you to be an actor in the next table read. Feel free to give us a call at 1313-825-5968. That's 1313-TALK-WATT. yeah, we'd love to hear your comments, your questions you might have for Kristy about why she made certain creative decisions or what that process was like in putting this together. We'd love to hear your questions. So yeah, give us a call. That being said, Alan, was there something you noticed or, was there a particular note that you had, and as we've been talking about this, of why a screenwriter like Kristy might make certain decisions, or something you just stood out to you from what we did?
I actually had a funny question, but I can also answer that question as well. My question was for Kristy as well. I mean, how was it working with a puppet? Is this the first time? Have you done Sesame Street? Have you ever wrote?
Well, we know, Alan, don't we? We've worked with the puppets before.
Oh yeah,
so.
we've done it. We've done this. I just
let me apologize to everyone right now. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you did great. I mean, okay, I think it actually lends to the direction I took going anyway, because I went a little more kind of, humorous and comedic with him. So it was actually perfect.
Yeah, that's the comment I was going to make. That's the biggest thing I think I noticed was that change in Gawain's character. And I enjoyed it. It definitely made him more of a likable character. I mean, in that first scene, he is a likable character. When you first read Eye of the Road, you don't dislike Gawain. That comes later. But this made it even more to break your heart later. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I love it. I'm seeing a lot of comments in chat. Bane and Chad said more puppets and a Lamgwin deep dive, just cause. Yeah. I agree. Lamgwin needs some more lines. We need to find out what he's doing after Rand.
Too busy watching the ladies. That's right. Watching the ladies.
I know. I saw that and I was like, should I be leering right now? I'm not sure what I should be doing. So, Kristy, a question did come in from Andrew Berenson in chat. He said, why did you read some of Rand's inner thoughts as we were doing this? Is that a normal part of a table read, just his inner dialogue that he was having?
Yeah, so during a table read, they would still do that just to give the essence of what the context is of what's going on. I've never seen the actor actually read it. If somebody's reading action lines, that person is just reading the action lines. Some of those things that are the inner thoughts are inner thoughts, or some of them are actually almost kind of little directive notes in the script to kind of give the readers or the production crew and the director an idea as to kind of where they're going and why this is there. And so the action lines would still be read that way versus having the actor do them. But yeah, you should always read those out loud so that you understand this is kind of why you're going the way you're going with it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah. This whole concept of, doing this process and just understanding what the actors themselves, right? We saw that famous table read that they did for episodes 1 and 2. And just understanding that this is the process and kind of taking part in this, I can see almost that it's fun. There's a certain entertainment to this of actually getting together with all of you and going through the script and kind of embedding in these characters. You all kind of embodied them, which was really fun to see. You jumped into your character. I really appreciated all of you doing that, where you actually added something to it, right? You didn't just kind of like deadpan the lines. So I really appreciated that. We do have a bunch of callers that called in. So before I go around and ask for more questions, let's bring our first caller into the show. Welcome to the Dusty Wheel, Hopper. How are you doing this evening?
Hey. Hello, Innkeeper.
What's up, man?
Hi, Hopper.
So
same old. I am curious about one of the things that you did with the voices in Rand's head. Was that intentionally a nod towards Luce Theron, or were you just going for him replaying what's just happened in his mind?
Both. So both to kind of give an element of Rand still has semi-consciousness of himself, and both to prep the audience to know that a lot of kind of the way that Rand's character is going to be formatted and shaped and move forward in this process is he's going to be dealing with voices in his head anyway. So for both reasons, essentially. Yeah, so he's always kind of even battling with himself in his head. And then that way we already set that up and we staged that early on and from the beginning that we know that that's kind of what's going on in Rand as a character, essentially.
Yeah, I liked that aspect to it. Hopper, was there anything else that stood out to you before we let you go here? Is there anything else that kind of you liked about the adaptation, or you wish would have made the cut?
I want to hear if Hopper liked Gowan, because I know he doesn't like him.
I liked the betrayal of Gawain, but I still don't especially like Gawain.
I know.
But
Take a bow, Dan. Take a bow.
I'm trying to redeem him somehow.
To be fair, this early in the book series, I did not dislike Gawain. I liked Gawain at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you had gotten all the way up into Perrin and Hopper, then that would have been good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, well, you never know. We never know. We'll come back and maybe do this again and pick a different scene. So section of scenes. So, Hopper, it's awesome to hear your voice. Thank you for calling in, and we'll talk to you soon.
I miss you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Kristy. It's good to talk to you guys. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye bye.
Bye.
Hopper, love to hear his voice. I will never forget Hopper's voice. It's a good friend from back in Theoryland days. So let's bring our next caller onto the show. I think some of you might know her. Welcome, Sarah, to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing tonight?
Hi. I just want to... Kristy is my best friend in the entire world. And so, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can totally hear you.
Very well.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I just wanted to call in and throw my support behind her. And she knows how much I love and adore her writing. And I think she's so talented. So yeah, I just wanted to call in and say, great job.
I love you and I miss you, and that's dedicated to you.
Oh, I love you. I miss you too. It was so great. So great. So, yeah, just fantastic job. And that was it.
I was gonna ask you, Sarah. Today, they released the little cut of Winespring Inn, and I know you made a comment on Twitter about kind of just seeing that again and feeling like you want to go back home. What was that experience like for you to kind of just be watching fans react to that, just that little 11-second, fade back from the script page or the page of the book and see the Winespring Inn?
It's surreal because, it's really the official first glimpse. And of course there's been speculation, surrounding it for ages and different leaks and all of that good stuff. But yeah, so seeing it and then seeing just sort of the overwhelming positive reaction, when you're there and when you're in it, you're working. And so, your head's down and you're kind of doing the thing. And so this moment really allowed me personally to kind of take a step back and to see what we did.
Yeah.
And again, with just the excitement around it and the support, I mean, it's so rewarding, and very satisfying.
Yeah, to many more such moments that are coming up, I'm sure. I mean, again, 11 seconds, and that set like all of fandom on fire. So I can't imagine what an actual trailer will do for everyone. It's going to
be brains will melt.
Yes, brains will melt. I love that. I think that's a great quote. Hashtag brains will melt. I love that. Sarah, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate that, and I know everyone's loving kind of you giving some opinions in live chat about kind of this process that Kristy went through. So absolutely appreciate you calling in.
It's not easy, and it wasn't an easy scene to do as much, as people might think it's easy. That was a very difficult scene to adapt, in my opinion. And so I think she did a really fantastic job keeping it moving. So
can you just give us a little, just go a little bit deeper there? Why would you have called that like a difficult scene? What are your thoughts about like why that would be a difficult scene to maybe adapt?
Well, I mean, just in my opinion, there's, it's all, I would say 75%. It's Rand and his experience going through the city. And so making that, I guess for the layperson, making it interesting to listen to in a table read perspective without the benefit of being over Rand's shoulder and experiencing it with him. I think Kristy did a great job with the camera direction and the exposition, so that just as someone that's listening in will kind of get the vibe, because you don't have the benefit of an entire script to set the scene for you.
Right.
And so yeah, I think that's why in particular it's challenging, because you just kind of have to jump into it. And so yeah, she did a great job.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, thank you again for calling in, Sarah. I really appreciate it. Awesome to hear your voice. And we'll talk.
Of course, guys.
We'll talk to you soon. Yep. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, guys.
If I can, real fast, Matt, what I liked about the script, one of the aspects was the transition from Fane to yelling dark friend, dark friend, dark friend, and then dragon, and then Rand. So it kind of had this nice flow that seemed thematically correct to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree, and I want to bring that up, that the pacing that Sarah brought up. I noticed that you definitely streamlined getting him up there and having that scene, which I think you have to do, right? You can't afford to be spending 15, 20, 30 minutes meandering around the city or something and having these experiences. You have to kind of get through there, and so picking out the nuts and bolts of it, the heart and spine, whatever, the soul of those scenes, and really making sure you get those and focus your time on those. I think that's the at least that seems like the call out, the important thing that I noticed. Because
even when you get to them with Elaine and Gawain, that's like 3 or 4 pages of what feels like they're just repeating the same things over and over again half the time. Yeah. So it's condensing that down to what are the lines that matter, that are furthering the story. So when we're kind of in a screenwriting mode, we're always thinking to ourselves, like every 3 pages, we should be kind of almost in a tone shift, or it's furthering something. Something's coming. And so what's going on right now is kind of pushing that next momentum. It's like waves in the ocean. And when it's just characters standing there talking for 10 minutes and nothing's happening. So you kind of have to find within that, what's going to further this story? What are the lines we need to know to understand that it's pushing to here, to here, to here, to here, to get there? And I cut down a lot to get from him actually falling over the wall to then when Galad shows up. Like it's a lot that's cut out, but I took the most important lines that I felt made sense for you to understand the impact of the fact that he just fell into the Queen's garden and now he's flipping out because what the hell did I do? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I want to make one note before we bring another caller in. To that point, I actually, being a fan, thought you spent a lot of time, and that's the funny part about it, is like the way that you had that conversation go back and forth between Elaine and Gawain and Rand, it felt like there was a lot of character development there. And I kept on asking myself, like, when is Galad coming in? There's a lot of character development. This is good. This is good stuff. I wonder if she dropped Galad. I was kind of wondering. Like, I hadn't gone all the way through, but I was like, well, that's not going to give Alan very much to say. But, and so yeah, I kind of so I think you did a great job of cutting it down, but still building that relationship. I felt really like I got that relationship from them. So anyway, I thought that was good. We have 2 other callers. Let's bring our next caller in to the show. Many of you know him as Norm. Welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing tonight?
Good evening, everybody. Good Innkeeper. Of course, I raise my glass to you, good sir. And to our panelists, I raise my glass to you. And Kristy, you're awesome. That was awesome. And of course, shout out to chat. Shout out to chat. What's up? Okay, so here's my question. When you were doing a screenplay or writing up a screenplay, how much pressure is there to, I guess, get it right? Because, like in Game of Thrones, you had the red wedding, the red wedding. And, when you were reading that, you were already freaking out and going crazy because you didn't believe that it was actually true. But then seeing it on the screen, you're even freaking out even more, like, oh, my God, this is happening. So how much pressure is there for a screenwriter to either, one, do it word for word verbatim that's on the page, or having to put your own little creative spin on it, to make it either better or changing things of, trying to make it tweak and such. So I wanted to get your thought process on that, since you were saying in the beginning you do a lot of tweaking and changing and such.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is a fantastic question. And thank you for asking it, because every writer, so there's always pressure. Every writer feels pressure no matter what, whether it's we're doing something from scratch or we're using source content like IP that already exists, which is intellectual property that already exists. But I think kind of as writers, what we need to actually step back and realize is who's our audience? Who are we writing for? And it's not just fans of that source content. And that's really hard to do when you're actually a fan yourself, because we know as fans what we want to see and what we want to hear. But the writer brain has to kind of turn that off and realize this is a general audience. We're introducing a general, broad audience to these characters and to this world. And so it's this really tough nuance that you have to evaluate and think about when you are reading something from the book and then you're trying to put it onto the page. And it's kind of doing what I was really just talking about in the last scene, which is how do we condense, how do we modify, and how do we shape something down to where on screen you visually can understand everything. We get everything in there that's important, that furthers the story, builds the character arcs, furthers that plot and the conflict, but we're not putting a lot more of the fluff in that's really not necessarily needed. Because again, if you're writing for a general audience, they're really not going to care about a lot of the aspects that we still want to be like, well, where's that? Well, where's that? But does it really actually further the main story for these characters? Is it pushing that conflict along? Is it pushing the plot along? And if it's not, and it's not relevant and significant right now or down the road, it's just something that you kind of trim down and you take out. It's not easy. It's very, very difficult. There's always a lot of pressure, but if it's something that you love, you can also have a lot of fun with it. This was a lot of fun to do. I'm not a big fan of Elaine or Gawain or Galad at all. Like, I just don't like them very much. But this was so fun to do. Like, to get Rand from this really interesting spot where he's just down in the dregs of the city, running around with everybody, cloak on, no one knows who he is, and then to put him in this, to change the tone completely and put him in the Queen's Garden with those characters. That was a lot of fun to try to do in the right way, that we still are growing the story. We know it's important. We know it's significant that he fell into where he fell and he met the people that he met. So right. I don't know if that answered the question. I just started rambling. I'm sorry.
No, that was good. That was really good.
I hope that answered it. Yes, there's always a lot of pressure. We always want it to be great. We never want to mess up the source content, but we also know that there's going to have to be some creative license, that we are going to cut some things, and you might not see everything, but we're going to do our best to put the most important that is necessary on screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Lancer, thank you so much. Appreciate the question, and as always, appreciate you calling in. Cheers, man. Have a good evening. Okay.
You guys too, and hey, more puppets. We always need more puppets.
Hey.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Lancer. Okay, we have one more call, and then I'd like to kind of go around the rest of the room and kind of ask any questions, see if Chad has any questions for Kristy, and then we'll tie this one up in a bow and say goodnight from the Dusty Wheel. Let's bring our last caller into the show. Welcome, Mike, to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing?
Thank you. I am ecstatic because hearing this table read makes up for not hearing any more casting announcements or anything like that. It's just awesome, and I will take it every week.
Nice. You want this to be a weekly here at the Dusty Wheel? Yeah. So
you guys didn't know I was actually cast as Elaine. That's making the
she nailed it. I think she nailed it.
I put it in chat earlier.
It's gonna be.
Look at this beautiful face. It's Galad.
It's gonna be really weird seeing only one puppet in this entire cast. But
if there's only one,
no one acknowledges it. No one says a word. It's just Gowan just walks up and he's a puppet.
Yeah,
I like it.
That's it.
Yeah. Mike, well, we absolutely appreciate that. What's your question for us?
My question was for Kristy. Now, part of it was already answered because of talking about creative licensing and things have to get cut. And I definitely see why that's important. And I just heard you say you're not a fan of Gilad or Gawain, and I totally get that too. My question is about kind of Gilad's story arc and where he goes.
Should I post maybe I'll post a spoiler. Maybe let me post a spoiler banner really quick, Mike, and then you can say whatever you want to say. I'll just let people know. We'll do a little spoilers here. Let Mike ask his question. If you're watching, we'll take it on the banner when that spoiler content or question is done. So yeah, go ahead, spoil anything and ask whatever you want, Mike.
Thank you. So my question is, you didn't really talk about how Gilad is kind of a half brother, and that he always does the right thing no matter what, no matter who he hurts, and how frustrating that is for Elaine, and that does impact storyline things later in the series. Do you think that the Wheel of Time of Pride, do you think that they're going to include some of that, or do you think Galad's character might be so minor that it's not going to matter, or it really won't impact storyline later on?
No, that's a great question. And I personally didn't dive too much into that in this particular scene, just because, again, that's something I feel like as the process goes on and the story goes on, that will come out about his character. Will they choose to go down that road? You know, I feel like I feel like it lends so much to how Elaine's arc and her trajectory goes, that I do feel like it's significant enough that they probably will explore that. There always needs to be some level of conflict. Every character needs to be dealing with some level of internal conflict and then external conflict, each one in their own right. And there will be multiple storylines and multiple subplots going on as the series progresses. So we're not just going to be with the Emons 5 the whole time. We're going to obviously start going and feathering out into all the other storylines. And so I personally would still keep that. I would keep the importance of the difference in the kind of like dynamic between him versus Gawain, and why they're what the significance is, because they're half brothers. And then I would keep him, I would keep with that realm, because it is something that is a conflict for Elaine, and that she does have to deal with down the road. And so you always want to make sure that you kind of start laying those seeds, setting that foundation, and then you go with that later on. As we follow her and her storyline, he will be a significant part of it. So I would definitely stay with it. If I were writing for the show, that would be something I would stay with.
Yeah, good answer. I like what little we did get of Gilad here, and how you kind of streamline that. This idea of not trying to handle all the exposition at once is an important piece, right? Like and that's what I almost feel like fans get a little bit too caught up in, that of like, well, we need to know this, because how else are we going to know this thing 4 books later?
We don't need it right now. You'll find out.
Right.
That's just how writers are like, we'll find out. Don't worry, we'll get there. We just want to sit these little seeds right now.
Yeah, that's a great way. Hey, Mike, thank you for waiting online there. And I know you just said we should do this every week. Is there a particular scene or a group of scenes that remain in the eye of the world, let's say, that you would say, yeah, I wish, that if we did this again, this is the scene we should do, or Kristy should take a look at?
Or could we do the Great Hunt, Matt? I'm only going to say that because they did kind of make this notation of we're going to see some of book 1 and 2. So is there anything in the Great Hunt we want to take a look at? I don't know.
Would you want to see some of the Great Hunt? And if so, what would it be?
For me, it would have to be Lael, Kieran, and Rand in the Mirror World with Selene, and the funny interplay between them with what goes on. I think that would be enjoyable to watch.
Interesting. Okay, I'm never gonna turn down a Lanfear scene. Noted. Noted.
Matt, you have to play Lanfear though, Matt. Obviously.
Yes.
Oh yes. This might be the way that I can cosplay Lanfear without ever having to cosplay Lanfear. I love this idea. This is
Ladies
fantastic.
and gentlemen, episode 2.
Episode 2. Hey, Mike, thank you so much, and great suggestion. Maybe we'll include one of those as a part of the poll, that when we ask fans again what we should do next when it comes to doing a mock screenplay. So, hey, Mike, have a good evening. Okay.
Thank you.
Alan,
thank you.
and I did actually just talked about the Nynaeve accepted test.
Yeah.
Which might be not a bad idea in that book.
Yeah,
that's a good one too.
Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah, there's so many good scenes from the Great Hunt's gonna be more difficult for us to pick a scene for Kristy to take a look at here.
How do you do that? How do you pick? Yeah. I can't.
You throw a dart. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Flicker. I mean, that would be a fun.
Dana and Chad just put Matt as Lanfear. # Matt as Lanfear. Yeah, I love it.
There we go. Well,
so Malkier Talks, Rob, is there something that you stood out to you, or a question that you have for Kristy before we, close up the end for the evening? Is there something you'd like to know why she made certain decisions she did, or something you saw in the script and you're like, what does this mean?
Not anything sort of in the script like what does it mean, but I felt that it was a lot more intense because it had been shortened. But also, I'm curious how long that took to put together for you. I mean, obviously, it would be different for every screenwriter, but as like a rough ballpark, how long did that, 15 pages take you?
Mm-hmm. So I started on that probably yesterday at around 6 o'clock in the evening. And I worked for a good 3 or 4 hours and I got to page 5. And then I pulled it up again this morning and I deleted page 5 and then rewrote page 5. I'm not kidding. And it's because I was actually, I work another job right now. And so I was at my office and I was kind of like, I told half of them, I'm like, guys, I'm working on this thing. Don't bother me for like 3 hours. And I plugged in my headphones about 11 o'clock. And then it was probably about 4:30 that 4:35 o'clock that I actually finished that last little sequence where they're stopped when she's trying to get him out of the garden.
Wow.
So, it's a good 8, 9, 10 hours for you to really kind of get a solid 10, 15, 20 pages. Now, I don't do this full time. If I was in a writer's room, that's it. Like, that's all you're doing, 12 hours a day, nonstop. Those writers can knock out stuff a lot faster. I am not in that realm where I can sit down and do 12 straight hours. I would love to. But I also, like I said, I go back and delete, or I'm fixing, or I'm like, oh, I hate that line. Oh, why would I say that? Oh, this tense is wrong. Like, writers are always fixing as we go, and we can never actually finish anything. Like, it's just never done. So, yeah, I would say probably a good 8, 9 hours to do 15 pages.
Yeah, wow. That's a great question, by the way. I just understanding the process again. This was kind of part of the series of screenwriting episodes we wanted to do, was just understanding this process so we as fans know, again, just get like some insight on what's going on in the writer's room, because inevitably, like we've talked about, there are going to be changes, and understanding why and the rationale of how those changes come about. I think for those of us that are, not casual observers of the Wheel of Time, that we'll actually still be able to enjoy it, because we'll be looking more for these type of cues of like, oh, they made this decision, why, not I hate all decisions that are not in the books, so it's
And this, I really have to throw this out there. This is where it lends to a lot of that time actually took for me going back and just rereading the source material again. I mean, I read those 2 chapters, I can't even begin to tell you how many times. So it really lends to having somebody like Sarah, or researchers and writers' assistants that are there. I can't even imagine how great it must be for those writers to go, Sarah, would this happen, blah, 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 blah. And it takes her like literally a minute or 2 and she knows the answer, or she's like, give me 5 minutes. That's kind of her job. Her job is to really assist them with keeping the continuity and making sure that they're kind of staying true to the character arcs and the things that are, this is coming up in book 5, so don't necessarily change this because A, B, and C happens before.
Yeah.
That's where it's helpful to have somebody like that helping a writing team. When you're by yourself like me and I'm like, here's all my Post-its for Eye of the World, like you kind of have to go back every time by yourself. So,
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that. And I don't know if I skipped anyone as far as questions. Do any of the 4 of you have any additional questions for Kristy, just about the process itself, what she went through, why she, however, what you saw in the script, like putting together the scripts themselves, and or are we done for the evening of questions among the
Did we do your script justice?
You did. It was awesome.
Nice.
I mean, come on. Like, I have a puppet. Like that.
Puppet stole the show, everyone, you know.
Yeah.
I try not
think you
to.
should submit your headshot and resume and be like, I'm available. We should do that.
I have the Eugene Levy eyebrows.
Well, once again, if there's no other questions, thank you very much, Kristy, for putting those hours in. Like, this is part of this, like, just geekery, you know, this hardcore fan freak among us. That this is a lot of fun for what we're doing, and hopefully those of you that have watched this either later on or live with us, you've enjoyed this. For those of you that joined us, you content creators, Rebecca, Alan, Brother Dan, and Malkia Talks, thank you so much for just jumping in this impromptu, you know, script reading that we just did, this table read. It was a lot of fun to have you all here. You all outshined my 3 lines that I had in the books in the script.
We're saving it for Lanfear. It's okay.
Yeah. Next, I'm gonna bring it next time.
You sold it, Matt. No, you sold it. You sold it.
Get ready. Yeah.
Yeah, because I flubbed in my first line. That's not gonna happen again. I'm gonna practice next time. I'm gonna kill it. Practicing my Lanfear. Yeah. For those of you that are interested in kind of keeping the conversation going on, feel free to catch us in Discord afterwards for the after show. You can find all those links below. I'll make sure and go and add all these content creators to the description. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to kind of reach out. I think on social media you can find Kristy. You know, I'm sure as she has time. I know she's very busy, but as she has time, be able to answer any questions you might have forgotten to ask. But yeah, thank you all again. This is this kind of crazy thing we decided to do, and I think we'll come back and do this again. Kristy, you were absolutely invited to do so. And for those of you that remember, come back on Sunday. We'll be doing a live adaptation of The Dragon Reborn. I can't wait for that on Sunday. And yeah, I guess as we say around here, good night from the Dusty Wheel, and smash to black.
If you want news and rumors